A very good afternoon. I'm Sarita. Today we are going to study the lesson Footprints Without Feet. This is the lesson number 5 from your supplementary reader, class 10th English book. So now let's start with it. This lesson is written by Herbert George Wells. Herbert George Wells, he was a renowned writer of English. Actually, he is considered to be the father of science fiction. He wrote the stories and novels on the topic of science which are beyond human imaginations. He is a great novelist and he have written so many books, and many of his stories have been imitated in the forms of movies. So let's start. So here we are going to study now the lesson Footprints Without Feet. This Footprints Without Feet, actually this lesson is a part of the novel An Invisible Man, written by Herbert George Wells. And H.G. Wells have written this novel An Invisible Man, which thinks beyond human imaginations. It thinks about what kind of wonders science can do. In this lesson, this particular lesson, Footprints Without Feet, is an extract from that novel. And basically, let's know about this novel a little bit. This novel, An Invisible Man, tells us how a science student can think of something which is beyond imagination. Griffin is the main character of this story. He was very good student of physics. And one day, he thought that if anything can be invented through which everything can become invisible, including human beings. So his idea was to invent some medicine or something which can make all visible objects into invisible. So he thought about it and he discussed about it with his senior, but he didn't get any approval from there. Moreover, his senior, he told him that if he do any research like this, then he will like to contribute for the money, for monetary he can contribute, but he wanted to take the credit of his research if Griffin gets success in that. So Griffin, he was willing to do that research further, but he had no option. So he started doing it by himself. For that purpose, he borrowed money, and sometimes he stole money from his father's locker also, and plenty of things he done in his life just to continue his research. His father, he was very honest person. He demanded money from him, but he couldn't help him. Then he stole money from his father's locker. But anyhow, he just wanted to manage, he wanted to continue his research for his new innovative idea that to make every physical object invisible. So here starts the story, the actual story which we are going to study here. And the story begins with that in this invisible man, means Griffin, he have taken all the research work completed, and then he is going to execute it, how to live his life with this invisibility. First let's have the look of the characters in this story. The characters in this story are Griffin, as I told you that he's the main person who was doing research, and then we have Mr. and Mrs. Hall. They are the owners of the hotel, the inn where he stay, while he stay in Iping. And then a clergyman, a person, Mr. Bunting, was there, whose house he stole money there. And then Mr. Jeffrey, he is the constable. Because this Griffin, when he invented the money, he invented that medicine for the invisibility. He tried to hide it from everyone. So for this purpose, he went to Iping, and during his stay in Iping, he came in contact with Mr. and Mrs. Hall. They were the owners of that particular inn where he was staying, and he was doing his further research secretly because he wanted to research on the antidote of his medicine which he have already created for the invisibility. And then he met Mr. Bunting there. He was the clergyman. He was the person who was staying in that Iping, and Jaffer was the constable. So now actual story begins of the story lesson. Before we start story, let's have a look about the theme of the lesson. The theme of the lesson is like science is a good friend but a bad master. It's well said. We all need science and technology in our day-to-day life. Now science has become the part and parcel of our lives. And for this purpose, we can't make science separate from our lives. But what if the science becomes our master? As we see in this story, Footprints Without Feet, initially this Griffin, he started his research. He wanted to invent a medicine which can make each and every physical object into invisible, including human beings. But he didn't get any resource for his research approval. Then he started doing this research secretly by himself, and he didn't want to let anybody know about it. But when he invented, he started looking for what he was started looking how to use it, how to try this medicine on anyone. Then he couldn't get anyone. Then he tried it on a cat. So it was quite painful process of becoming invisible. When the cat was getting invisible from its visibility, the cat was suffering a lot of pain. It was quite painful process. But even after that, cat's eyes were not invisible. Then Griffin, he researched again and again, and then he wanted some human being to test that medicine of invisibility. So because he was doing it secretly, so there was no official way to find that person. So Griffin was left with no option, and he gulped that medicine by himself, and he became invisible. But invisibility was it was innovative kind of thing. Even nowadays, if we think about this invisibility, it's a really strange kind of thing. But invisibility, it is an innovative idea, that is true. But it came along with a lot of problems which a person have to face while his or her invisibility. But this could be happen with the research of this Griffin. And this is the theme of this lesson, that science can do anything. In other words, we can say science can make impossible things possible. Though few things are there which are beyond human control. We can't do that. But still everything, if not everything, but many things can be possible with the help of science. This is the theme. But if we misuse it, if we are not able to use science in a proper way, then it will definitely hamper our lives. So we can go towards our destruction also. So it means if we use science, it should be our friend. It should not be our foe. It should not be our enemy. We should be able to use it in a well-planned way. Then it will be a good friend of us, and it will make us more progressive. Now, here we are about to start the summary. This summary starts with what? This portion, actually, I have already told you that this lesson is taken from the novel An Invisible Man. And the previous story from this episode, I have told you already. And now, this episode particularly, which we are going to study, that is his stay in Iping. And now what happens? This eccentric scientist Griffin, he have reached Iping, and he is staying there. But he was in his invisible form. Invisible form means nobody can see him. But invisibility was correct, it's okay, but his basic needs, food, hunger, thirst, chilled, cold, he feels cold and in summers, everything were same. It means in Griffin, he was invisible, but his needs were the same as he had in his visibility. So he was suffering a lot because he was not able to take anyone's help. He was isolated, he was all alone. But still, he had to survive. He had to survive for the life of his life, and moreover, for the further research for the antidote of his medicine. So he was doing that. So he shifted in an apartment, but he was feeling hungry. He was feeling thirsty. If he goes out with the help of, if he goes out, he will be no able. He will not be able to seen by anyone. But still, if he will eat something, it will be shown to everyone. So he had only one choice: either he go out and then he need to cover his all whole body, and or he can have something in his house. But he was all alone. He has no one to help him. He was having no helping hand. So what he decided? So he decided to go out and just to have food or something which if he can have, because it was the month of December. It was very chilly months in London. But still, he was not able to wear any clothes because the main this requirement of invisibility was that the person have to be without clothes. The person has to be naked. But this man, Griffin, he was feeling very cold. He was feeling hungry. So what to do with it? So what he decided? He decided to go out. So he was trying to arrange clothes for him because he didn't have money to buy clothes. And he was thinking what to do. So what he did? He went in a shop. And see, as we can see in the picture, it's there only. He was wearing clothes just to make him visible for others. But he had to cover his whole body from top to bottom, tip to top, so that he cannot be seen by anyone. So now Griffin, he went in a shop. He stole clothes from there. He wore those clothes. And now he was searching for food as he was not having money. How to have money for the food? So he went in a showroom. It was a big shopping mall. He went there and he was waiting. Let the shopping mall close and he can enjoy the food and the warmth of the beds there because it was chilly months. So he entered in a shopping mall and he was waiting for the evening. So by the evening, the shopping mall was closed. Everyone was gone out. So then Griffin, he just took off his clothes. He ate little bit what he wanted to eat. He drank wine, he ate chocolates, each and everything he wanted to eat, he ate there. And then after a couple of days, or you can say not couple of days, after so many days, he got the comfort and warmth of the bed. So he just took a look of the showroom and he saw the pile of quilts there and he went there and he slept there. And the plan of Griffin was that he will sleep in the showroom, and before anyone comes, he will wake up, and then he will go out without anybody's knowledge. And like before anybody notices his presence in the mall, he will leave. But he was hungry and he got comfort after so many days, so he couldn't wake up on time. The shopping mall was open and his presence was felt by everyone. And now everyone was surprised why and how that person is in the mall. And from there he ran and he reached Iping. Iping is a place in London also. Though this is the quality of H.G. Wells. Like when he used the places, names of places in his stories, in his novels, they all are realistic. And this is the quality of H.G. Wells. And now he reached, Griffin reached Iping, and there he rented a room in the Coach and Horses Inn that was owned by Mr. and Mrs. Hall. And when he met Mrs. Hall, he told her that his face was disfigured with the fire. That's why he need to cover his whole body. Even he have to cover his face with it. And then he reached there, and when he reached there, he rented that room. He paid money for his room, and he told Mrs. Hall that he wants to have food in his room only. He don't want to go out. He was not willing to meet anyone, because this person Griffin, he wanted to continue his research without anybody's knowledge, and he wanted to be isolated. So he was, in other words, he wants isolation. That's why he didn't want to meet with anyone. If anyone wants to be friendly with him, he don't get friendly with anyone. But Mrs. Hall, she was thinking what's the reason behind of this, but still she was not able to find it. And then what happened? And then Mr. And Mrs. Hall, they were discussing about him, because he was a stranger. He was a strange kind of person there. So they decided to talk to him, but he all the time he keeps room closed, and it was quite difficult to make it this possible for anyone to know him. And then one day, she means Mrs. Hall, she demanded money for his room rent. Griffin told her that he is expecting some check, and once he gets it, he'll pay to it. And then still Mrs. Hall, she was quite actually Mrs. Hall, she was a little bit kind of greedy woman. She wanted to have her money faster, so she started talking to him this and that. So then Griffin told her that definitely he will pay her his rents. In this session, I'll take summary, pause here, and we will restart from the further part of this summary in the next session. Thank you and have a nice day.